So yesterday we saw sell-off in the marketplace. Corn lower, soybeans lower, wheat lower, at two of the three exchanges. It was cotton that moved higher. So what about the overnight session? What are we doing, or what have we been doing? Let's go to the corn market. We'll start there. Little higher trade with December at 4.49 3/4, penny and a half higher. What about soybeans in the overnight session? Mostly higher as well. Again, don't pay too much attention to the March contract. Those expire tomorrow, so we're really not watching that. Our real, I guess, target, if you will either be the old crop or the new crop. And for soybeans, that's a November contract. Now to the wheat market, and kind of a reversal from what we saw at the end of the session yesterday. July Chicago up 5 3/4, 5.75 1/4 for hard red. Again, moving higher with July up 7 3/4, 5.94 1/2, and also in the overnight session, December spring wheat 6.42 3/4, 6 1/2 higher. What about that cotton market? Well, cotton lower in the overnight session, 69.35, down 30. Brian Hoops is in Springfield, Missouri, President, Midwest Market Solutions. All right, weekly export sales numbers came out 8:30 Eastern this morning, and some marketing year highs in there.
Yeah, that wheat number was really good. Above expectations, we had 28.8 million bushels of wheat sold last week, and that's really an outstanding number. The corn and soybeans were decent as well. Not really outstanding, but pretty decent. We didn't see much in the way of cancellations. That's really what stands out to me. So 38.1 million bushels of corn, soybeans at 27.6. No private export sale announcements this morning, and we're higher going into this report. We held those gains after the report into the close. So it looks like that technical bounce that we're starting in the overnight is going to at least try and continue into the morning hours this morning. Now, we don't expect this bounce to really go anywhere because the weather in South America looks very good. You've got rains in southern Brazil and most of Argentina where they're desired. Drier weather in northern Brazil where they're trying to plant that corn crop. So really a very desirable forecast for South America. We also had some updates on production numbers out of South America. The Rosario Grain Exchange, they updated their Argentina production numbers for soybeans. They lowered it by 1 million tons. The corn number they lowered by 1.5 million. So that's something to keep an eye on because the USDA left their numbers unchanged on Tuesday's supply and demand report. They may have room to come down, but CONAB was also out this morning. They're a Brazilian reporting agency, and they actually ticked higher the corn and soybean production numbers, not by much, but just a very small increase in their production in Brazil.
All right, and when we look at the actual inspections, that's what we shipped out, if you will. Marketing year high there for corn. I saw a marketing year high for cotton at 3,500 running bells. So we're converting those cells over into actual take it out of the grocery store, right?
Yeah, you always have to talk about how much you're actually not only selling, but how much is actually being shipped out, because those, until they're shipped out and really until they're at the port where they're desired to go, they can always be turned around or canceled and sent back. So good to see, that our inspections are good. Our sales have been good. A lot of the trade is still scratching their head about Tuesday why the USDA didn't change their corn export production number, because our exports have been very good. We're running well ahead of the USDA pace. I think it probably lies with the uncertainty with the tariffs and how that is all going to play out. They didn't want to overestimate their exports if they're going to have to bring them down at some point in the future.
All right, hang on, Brian. We'll take a break. We'll come back in a moment. We'll look at livestock futures. Market day report continues in a moment. So we've seen some cash cattle already moving this week in Kansas at 200. Yeah, the bids were out there at 200 and some takers. So what will happen the rest of the week? Well, we'll keep an eye on it, but you can see right here the live cattle contract. And when we look at it for a 1 month, look at how high we've climbed since that dip on March the 3rd. Brian Hoops is President, Midwest Market Solutions. Brian, as we kind of look at this, and we'll roll through the numbers from the closes yesterday, could export sales and those numbers guide trade today?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the combination of these export numbers, which were pretty much routine for cattle, right in that range where we have been seeing them on a weekly basis, 14.3 million tons shipments, about 16 million tons. Nothing exciting there. It's the cash markets, it's the cutout values that it is going to attract trade attention. So we were higher in the cutouts yesterday at midday and the close. And there's asking prices of 202 in the Southern Plains. There's been a handful of trade, maybe less than 700 head in Kansas at 200 yesterday. That kind of got the ball rolling to the upside. But these futures markets, we noted yesterday, trading at around 200 was dialing in that 200 cash trade. Now they're well over that 201 and a half. They're dialing in something a little bit better than the 200 cash that we should see today and tomorrow.
Okay, and looking at the export numbers, I guess what caught me was the pork marketing year low there. Is that tied back over to the tariff talk?
I think it's going to have to be, because China is one of our biggest customers, if not the biggest, and they are issuing tariffs against U.S. pork imports. So it has to be tied to that. It was a marking year low, as you mentioned, and it's a disappointment certainly because we're heavily relying upon shipping our pork and our beef products, and China is, at this part of the trade war anyway, they are going to slow down our pork imports at least for the time being.
Yeah, and as we're kind of wrapping up here, the dollar index moving slightly higher, and again, that will factor into exports as well. Brian Hoops is president, Midwest Market Solutions. Brian, we'll see you back here tomorrow.